I want to welcome everyone and thank you for joining today's session, Leading with Courage, How Public Engagement Professionals Create Lasting Change. Before we jump in, take care of a little bit of housekeeping. You'll see that our Q&A feature is turned on today, so feel free to use that area any time to share your thoughts or questions, and we'll leave room after Allison's presentation to answer those questions. And also for those of you interested in receiving the recording of the webinar, please keep an eye out in your email box because you'll get it in about 24 hours. Copy of the recording. And introductions. My name is Trisha Thomas. I'm the content marketing manager here at Public Input, and I also happen to be a former community engagement practitioner for local government. I've been having trouble with that phrase all day. And I'm also joined by my colleague, Nina Pignatello, who's the Director of Customer Experience. Wave, Nina. And then I know many of you have joined this session, especially to get to know Miss Allison Bell. Allison is the founder and CEO of Bellwether Consulting and an author and a leader in driving cross-sector collaboration for social change. With over 20 years of experience across government, nonprofits, and research, she specializes in turning bold ideas into real equitable impact. Named one of the top 100 influencers in local government, Allison has worked with organizations like the Brookings Institution and HUD to create meaningful change. Allison, I know I keep telling you this. We're so excited to have you today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you,
Okay,
Trisha.
you're welcome. Just to go over the agenda really quickly, first we'll have Allison. She'll be sharing how public engagement professionals can create lasting change by harnessing their power using courage, creativity, and connection. After our Q&A with her, Nina will share a little about the winning case studies from our excellence and community engagement. Okay. Oh, and about us, before we get going, I want to send a special thanks to all of our valued customers joining us today. And as always, we're excited to welcome new faces. For those of you who are webinars or just getting to know us, we hope you find inspiration in the stories of our award-winning customers and see how real impact is being made with public input. And if you haven't heard us say it before, we view ourselves as more than a tech platform. We're here to be your partner in overcoming barriers to reaching and engaging your community. And I think that's all I have. You ready, Allison?
I'm ready.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Trisha.
Yeah.
Um, and first of all, an early congratulations to the award winners. I can't wait to hear more about your work. But I also want to just thank every single person who's here today and thank you for the work that you do. It is an incredibly tough time right now to be any public servant on any level. And I think it's especially hard for community engagement practitioners. So my job here today is to acknowledge that real reality. And at the same time, I want to make the case to you that you have exactly what you need to continue making change. You have more power than you might even recognize, and you can tap into that power to do the most good in your communities. So that's my goal in the next 30 minutes. So one thing I don't want to say is try harder or do more because I know you all are high achievers. You're here at a webinar. And what I do want to say is three things. I'm going to go through my story and tell you a little bit about how I got here. And I end up writing a book about this, what I learned in the process of that research. And then I want to share just a sneak peek of the book with you in terms of the superpowers that I discovered and how you can develop those superpowers in yourself and others. So, a little bit about me. I am from an extremely small town of 800 people in Northeast Iowa. Maybe because of that, my dream when I was a little kid, when I was carrying that, you probably can't see it's a Fraggle Rock bag, was that I wanted to be a National Geographic travel writer. I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to learn about other cultures. I wanted to have all these experiences, and then I wanted to share that information back with others. That was kind of my dream. At the same time, I had parents in the small town who were extremely involved in their communities. They were on the boards and the committees, and I just watched them and I saw, okay, this is just what you do, right? You get involved and you pitch in and you try to make things better. I did, by the time we get to the right-hand side, when I was in high school, I did have a bit of a rebel streak. So I started to be critical of things in my community. I saw some things that I wanted to improve, and so I did start to act on that, and I even had some minor protests that I led in high school. So that's a little bit about where I came from. If you go to the next slide, Tricia, um, that led me to join the Peace Corps after college, and this was right after 9/11. So very interesting time to go abroad. I was in Zambia, and I was a community health volunteer. And my goal there was really to try to do some good, to experience the world. And I did have an amazing experience. It was a formative experience. Um, and when I got back from Peace Corps in 2004, well, I experienced a major reverse culture shock. So I came back to my own country and I had what Rick Steve says, reverse culture or culture shock is the growing pain of an expanding perspective. So I had changed my perspective and I was looking at my country through new eyes. There were lots of things I was grateful for, like good public services, democracy, many good things, but I also was very critical and sad about some things that I didn't see in our country. And just as an example, the deep community that I experienced in Zambia is not even close. I didn't even see anything like that in the US, even coming from a small town. So I wanted to help create some of that. And I went to grad school for public policy because I thought that could be a good path to lead change. So I'm going to take a time out now from my story and just kind of put the question out there. Why am I telling you this story? Why share all these details with you? Well, it really comes down to this. To me, I think it's very incredibly important for each of us to reflect on our own stories and tell them, um, because it helps us clarify our values. It helps us figure out, how we got those values, and then we can use those values to guide our decisions. So, um, I'd like you to think about at some point, how did you end up on this webinar? Why are you doing public engagement? Why do you care? How did you get to that point? Because when you can clarify that and tell that story, I think it's really helpful both for you and for others to connect with others. So that type of introspection, in my book, I call it Find Your Cape. So it's really the first step. It's doing the internal work. And once you do that, you can then be the most powerful in the work that you're doing. So if you want to go to the next slide, Tricia, I'll return back to my story. In the 20 plus years since Peace Corps, I've been working in and with state and local government all around the country, California, Pennsylvania, and now here in Minnesota. And a lot of different experiences. This one here is the Everyday Equity team that I led at Metro Transit here in Minnesota, our regional transit agency. This was a really formative experience for me because this team brought together bus drivers, janitors, financial analysts, managers. I mean, it was totally cross-functional, and everybody was coming together because of their passion for making the organization better and serve our customers better. And we did a lot of things together. We had some successes, we had some major failures and burnouts. I won't be able to get into all that right now. But in short, these folks, and I dedicated my book to this team, they really gave me a deeper understanding of both the problems that we have in leading change in government, but also the possibilities and really the amazing opportunities that we have. So if you go to the next slide, I think this is what led me to write Herocrats. It's these experiences like this. It's both the good and the bad. It's that we have so much good in our communities, but then we also have these really deep entrenched problems. And sometimes government has created those problems or even made them worse. And in other cases, we have wonderful programs, and there are many positive things that government is doing to try to ameliorate those problems. So at the same time, and if you're thinking about people who are working in government, there's so much talent, there's so much dedication. Um, and at the same time, I saw that there's a lot of unrealized potential. There's people who aren't being tapped or who haven't quite found their way to apply their power. And that's disappointing. And that's something I think we can do something about. So when it comes down to it, if I look at all the challenges in leading change in government, I think the biggest thing that underlies everything is fear. It's fear of change. Um, it's fear on every level, from the personal all the way up to the organizational level. So we'll be talking some more about fear. So why I wrote Herocrats, it's because I was trying to reconcile these things. I'm trying to say, how do we do the most good? How can public servants lead change? And when they do, how do they keep going? Because I don't know about you, but I got exhausted. I got burnout. It was not healthy. So I wanted to find out, how do people do this in a sustainable way? And that's what led me to write Herocrats. And if you want to go to the next slide, the approach I took to it was really a research approach. I went out and talked to as many people as I could. I interviewed hundreds of people around the country, state and local government folks who had some success or were working towards change. What you're seeing here are 40 plus people, Herocrats that we have highlighted on our blog. So we do this once per month. We pick someone and tell their story. But there were hundreds of people before this that I talked to help inform my book. And I asked them those questions about how they lead change. And what I found, unfortunately, was that there's no one easy answer, right? And there's no one app for this, because if there was, we'd all have it and everything would be great and it'd be easy, right? But what we did find was that there are traits that these 40 people and the others that I talked to have in common. And these are what I call the superpowers for folks to lead positive change. So we talked about finding your cape and doing the introspection. Now we're going to go to how to work your cape, how to put those superpowers into use on a day-to-day basis. So the first one that we heard about, the first of three, is courage. And that's just simply speaking and acting from our hearts. And courage is important because it breaks the spell of fear. When someone sees you being brave, it makes them a little more brave. And then someone else sees them and it makes them a little more brave. And so we just have to start and take some courageous action. We're often looking to leadership for direction, for courage. And you know what? Those leaders are looking up to. Everybody has somebody they're looking to make a decision or show leadership and show courage. And sometimes we get disappointed because we don't see that, right? We want to see that from those above us, and sometimes we do, but sometimes we don't. So what I would say is it's up to us. We're all leaders, and we all have the opportunity to step into our own power, whatever that power is. When it comes to public engagement, it's probably not, courage doesn't mean like running into burning buildings, right? But it may be asking a certain question in a meeting that you know is not going to be not going to be popular. It could mean that question that everybody has on their mind and doesn't want to say. Or in public engagement, it could be advocating or bringing the voice of a community perspective over the voice of a colleague. If maybe you know that colleague is not going to be happy with that, they don't want the change or they don't want what the community member's saying, but you're being brave to be that conduit and share that perspective. And another way that courage plays out, I think, with community engagement, and this I think comes to the proceeding from love, is sometimes it's working with those organizations or those people that you know are the critics who maybe aren't even the nicest to you all. Maybe maybe you've had kind of conflict with them in the past, but choosing to like look beyond that and try to reach out to them and find how you can work together and how you can listen to them. So those are a few examples of courage in your jobs. Now, I want to be clear, this comes with risk, right? All of this comes with risk, and it could be, the first thing that comes to mind is losing your job, which may be realistic. Or sometimes it's not losing your job, but it's being sidelined in your job. Maybe it's not getting invited to the meetings you need to be at, or not getting the resources you need, which is hard too. So we have to be really strategic about how we are courageous. And part of that is really doing the assessment of your powers. So what is within your control? What do you have to work with? And for public engagement, there may be a lot of things that you have to work with, but one thing that I know is that you have the power of the story. You have the power of the narrative. So you have the opportunity to uplift that and shape that and share that, what you're hearing out in the community. You probably also have the power of relationships. So you have the ability to activate those. So let's be strategic about when we use the courage and really be thoughtful about that. So the next superpower that we heard in all those hundreds of interviews was creativity. And I want to just tell a quick story about this. When I was leading the Everyday Equity team, we had this great idea to do an equity fellowship within Metro Transit where we would have folks apply and it'd be a position that would take a bus driver or another frontline worker out of their job for a year and have them do a rotation working on change, working on, building organization change because those folks really know their community and they know what's going on the ground and there's a big opportunity there. So I had kind of the general go ahead from my leader to start this program, and I was meeting with the director of HR who knew she had to work with me on this, but really was not very happy about it for whatever reason. And we had this early morning meeting, and I was talking about the equity fellowship, and at some point she just got really flustered, and she just blurted out, "Allison, I don't need any more of your creativity." And I kind of stopped for a second, and then I was like, "Oh, you think I'm creative? Cool." Like, I never thought of myself as creative. I thought of that as what artists do, right? And you know what? Government employees can be creative, and you are creative. So own that and find the ways that you are creative and keep going. One of the ways to do that is through learning. So learning feeds creativity. You're always out there and you're learning about your community, you're listening to your community, and you're also having to learn about the system, right? The policies, the structures, the legal things um, that provide kind of that framework that you have to work within. So the best way to be creative is to learn all that stuff, that wonky stuff, because then you can work within it. So learning is a big part of creativity, and so is optimism, which I have to say is not the most common thing these days. There's a lot of reasons, why a lot of us don't feel super optimistic, but optimism is incredibly necessary for creativity because if you don't believe something can change, you're not going to really try to make something new. So it's a practical choice to be optimistic. Um, and I encourage you to show that optimism, not in a Pollyanna, everything's perfect way, but in a practical way. And identify, we can do this and show that confidence to your teams. Another part of creativity is resourcefulness. So I know you all are resourceful as well. because public engagement isn't always the best funded part of government. Um, I saw so much resourcefulness in Zambia. I could tell you stories about that, but it's really just about doing that assessment of what you have to work with. And you don't necessarily need a big budget. If you think about youth engagement, for example, the great things you can do in schools, right? And it just takes time. If you have the staff time, it doesn't necessarily have to take a lot of money. So think about how you can be resourceful and don't let the lack of a budget or big budget stop you. So the last thing about creativity, I want to say, like courage, it combats fear because you're taking action, right? You're making something. And I feel like anytime you're moving, you're combating that fearful feeling. So let's move on to our third superpower, which y'all will be very familiar with because it's what you do. It's connection. You're all natural connectors. It's part of your job. You know ways to do that in your community. You do it every day. Connection is more about is not just about connecting with your community. Again, it's about connecting with yourself, your team, your organization, your partners, connection in all senses of the word. And we just need this more than ever right now. Let's all remember that we're not over COVID yet, and we are all still feeling the isolation and the effects of that 5 years on. And so we still have work to do to knit together our communities and reconnect. And then, this is important. I probably don't need to sell connection to you, but when you do go out and connect with folks, you get better, you get hope, you get inspiration, you get courage because you get reminded about why you're doing this work and why you are taking those risks because you're seeing someone face to face and you're having that human connection, and that will embolden you and give you courage to push things forward and remind you why you're doing it. The other thing I want to say, you all are connected and you do connection, but I want to try to encourage you to create opportunities to get others in your agencies connected. Get them out. It's not just the job of public engagement to do connection, right? Everybody needs to be connected. And I'll just give you an example of how we did this with the Everyday Equity team. We noticed that many of the senior leaders in the agency no longer took transit. They didn't use the service that they were making decisions about. And we thought that was a problem. So we worked with the CEO to design an activity for them. We called it Get Out. And it was an exercise. We had a map and we identified different locations in the region and little tasks for them to do. So they had to take transit to a certain place and do a certain thing. So for example, they had to take the bus to the Cub in North Minneapolis and they had to buy a bus card there. And they all did it because they had to, and the boss made them. And we had a workshop afterwards to hear about their experiences and talk about where to go from there. And I was really scared that these guys, and yes, they were all guys, were going to be super annoyed at me and then our team. And maybe they were, but they didn't show it. They actually had a great response. They learned so much just being forced to go out and observe. It wasn't even any kind of, there wasn't any goal other than to observe and write down what they saw. The other good thing that came out of it was that they were super motivated to fix things after that. So they saw the problems in the field and then they went back and they fixed it. So that's an example. I encourage you to think about how to engineer opportunities to get others in your organization out into the community. So Tricia, if you go to the next slide, I just want to talk a little bit more about connection and why it's important. And like the others, it really combats fear. It's an antidote to our own fears that we all feel, our supervisors' fears, our community's fears. because I think if you think about the people who are the most afraid, it's often those people who don't get out. It's the people who are, they stay at home and they don't have that connection. And that leads to this kind of fear and isolation loop. So if you're afraid to get out, you don't go out and you get isolated, and then, you know, that makes you more afraid, and then you don't get out, and so connection breaks that cycle. And it also, if you're thinking about leading lasting change, which is what we're talking about here, it really makes change doable. Because I don't know about you, but if you think like sometimes when I think about ch these big systems, these big organizations, these cultures that and these policies that have been in place for many years, and they're all complex and they're all kind of wound together. How do you break that up? How do you start to make those things better? And if you think about connection, it's possible because organizations and systems, they're just made up of people, right? Yes, there's policies, there's culture, but when it comes down to it, it's people. There are a lot of people working together. So we can't make that change individually, but we can do it together if we do that connection work. And you all have networks. You all have your people. So I'd encourage you to think about like who are your people? Who is your Herocrats network? And how can you come together to do some good things together? Um, Last thing about connection, I think, again, the best way to connect with others is to start by connecting with yourself. So that finding your cape, identifying your story and your values, and then sharing it with people. Because when we put that out there, that's when those best connections are made. That's when you really find your people, is when you can be your authentic self and share that with the world. So um, again, that's true for that finding your cape is true for all three superpowers. Okay, so that was a quick overview of the three superpowers. I'm really curious to hear from you guys now. Um, you kind of your reactions to this. And so Trisha's going to pull up a couple poll questions for you. So first of all, which of those three superpowers do you use most frequently? And then which one is your growth edge? Which one do you think you could continue to work on some more?
I don't think you guys can see the results, but it's pretty exciting because I can see them. I'll share them in a sec. I'll give them a minute to decide what they feel. 10 more seconds.
I mean, I can guess. Maybe it's a connector group. I don't know. But
Oh,
well,
maybe.
maybe.
But, okay, I'm going to end it, guys. Can you see the results?
Ah, yes. Okay. So your top one that you use most frequently generally is connection at 50%. We have 33% creativity and 17% courage. Yay. And then in terms of your growth edge, it's kind of the inverse of that. So courage, creativity, and connection. Now, every group I talk to is a little bit different, but I would say this does track. I think a lot of people don't necessarily um, see themselves as brave, but you know what? I think other people see you as brave. That's often, uh, the way it works. So thank you all for sharing that. Okay, so now what? I've shared a little bit of information with you, some of what's in the book. How do you, where do you go from here? How do you apply this to your work? I have just a few ideas to share with you. The first one's really easy. It's to join the Herocrats movement. So what I mean by that is follow us on LinkedIn or Facebook. We're especially active on LinkedIn. That's where we have our monthly blog posts and everything. And also introduce yourself to me on LinkedIn or send me an email. I'd love to hear from you. I really thrive on getting to know people and hearing about your work. If you want to go to the next slide, another easy thing you can do is nominate a Herocrat. So this could be yourself or a colleague, you know. So I encourage you to think about who do I know that could use a little bit of recognition. And it's a very easy form. It's on herocrats.com. It'll take you 1 minute. So please nominate a Herocrat. And I do want to mention as well, I'll be selecting one of today's award recipients to be featured as a Herocrat. So please stay tuned for that. Another thing I think you can do, a piece of advice is just to act locally. There's so much going on, you know, nationally, and I'd say stay aware of that, but focus on the local because your community, your colleagues, your organization, it's where you are, and that's where you can have a big impact. In terms of other advice I would have, you know, we'll all reach this point where we get stuck, right? When we're trying to lead with courage, we're trying to lead lasting change. And I would encourage you to use this these superpowers as a checklist. And so, you know, kind of go through them. If you get stuck, think about, okay, who can I connect with right now? Who could help me? Or what would it look like to be brave right now? What would just a small brave step be? Or what would creativity look like in this scenario? What's one little creative thing I can do? So use that checklist, and that's what I really mean by working your cape. Next thing I would just say, remember your power. So next slide, Tricia. I have the power. You do have the power. It might feel sometimes like you don't have power. You have a lot of power. So find it. What is the source of your power? What are your strengths? Find them and then use them. And then the last thing, last slide, I'll say, if you want to do the most good, again, find your cape. Do that internal work. That will make you the most powerful. And then work your cape. Use those superpowers, those 3 superpowers every day. And the last piece is to keep flying. And what I mean by that is to take care of yourself. Invest in yourself. If you don't do that, you can't help anybody. You can't make anything better. So you got to prioritize that self-care. All right, so that is what I had today. Thank you all for being here, and we will take some questions.
Thank you, Allison. I love that so much. And the I have the power, that was just bringing back 80s memories for me. I love you said that. The Q&A feature is open. If anyone has any questions for Allison, we can take some later also if you're still kind of marinating on all of that excellent advice. Um, and I'm happy to see people talking in the chat. I did see a question earlier about that big plant. People were really curious about what that was in the slide. And they were guessing elephant ear. I don't know if you know,
I
but
think that's
um,
right. Yeah, yeah.
and you might take a look. There's some people who shared themselves and their Cape experience, so in the chat. But doesn't look like we have any questions right now. So I am going to move on. Oh, and also we have a QR code up here if you want to see the Herocrats website and also Allison's contact information if you want to stay connected with her. Um, and we'll go move on. The next half of this session is going to be all about the Excellence and Community Engagement Award winners. And I know Nina is just bursting with excitement to celebrate and share some of the amazing accomplishments of our customers. So you guys are in for a treat here. This is just a peek at the award categories as well as the scope of competition each of the winners are up against. There's over 100 government agencies who engage more than 72 million residents across the US and Canada. And it's no exaggeration to say that these winners are truly setting the bar for excellence in community engagement. So here it is, Nina. You ready? Ready to tell
I
them?
am. Thank you, Tricia. Appreciate it. So I've met some of you on the phone, not everyone, but I'm Nina and I oversee the customer experience team, as Tricia mentioned at the start of the webinar. And so my team is responsible for everything that happens in your journey with public input from the time that you sign the contract with us. So everything from onboarding through your success. And we also make sure that we support you from the technical perspective. So this is such a privilege. And I was so honored when Trisha asked me to present these awards because I get to see things from behind the scenes. And so many exciting things that are happening. And, you know, we really believe that engagement is more than just collecting feedback. We understand that it's about building relationships with your community and you fostering that trust and just making sure that every voice is heard. And that's non-trivial. That's a big job. And our customers, we believe you are leading the way. You're transforming public participation. And so today we are going to be recognizing some of the most outstanding efforts. Um, Before we begin, I do want to express our deepest gratitude to all of you. You work tirelessly. We appreciate that. And you do make a big difference in your community. And so we wanted to recognize that um, the standards that you set and your dedication to the process. So, to all of the nominees and the award winners, your commitment to engagement has created real impact in your communities, and we're honored to support you. So, without further ado, our first award is Excellence in Data Driven Engagement. And this is recognizing those who harness the power of data to craft meaningful community stories. This award honors leaders who use insights to guide decision making, ensuring transparency and impact in public engagement. And this year's award winner is Sergio. And Sergio, I'm going to give it a shot here. Torales Peralta from the city of Austin. So, Sergio, yay, from all of us at Public Input. A little bit about Sergio and his work. Sergio and the city of Austin are recognized for transforming public engagement through the power of data. Seeing the need for a more connected approach, Sergio led the development of an internal dashboard for the city that brings together survey data from across all the departments. And there are a lot of departments in the city of Austin. Beautiful building. I had the wonderful opportunity to visit there last summer. Um, Breaking down silos, improving collaboration, and ensuring that community needs are heard and decisions are made through the data that Sergio provides at an aggregated level. You're welcome. We're so honored, Sergio. Congratulations. Your leadership is shaping a smarter, more connected approach to community participation. So, yay, Sergio. I know, Jenna, you're probably jumping out of your seat right now. Breakthrough Performance is our next award. This award honors visionaries who drive operational improvement within their teams, fostering seamless communication and collaboration. This award recognizes those who break down barriers and champion efficiency to achieve better engagement outcomes. This year's winner is Brenda Thomas from Fresno Council of Governments. Unfortunately, Brenda had a last minute engagement that she had to attend to, and she's unable to join us. But a little bit about Brenda, her ingenuity and efficiency earned national recognition for her outstanding public outreach efforts on Fresno COG's climate pollution reduction plan. Um, this is no small feat. Within just 2 weeks, she executed single-handedly, managed the project using public input tools, delivering impactful engagement, and in the end, earned herself the prestigious EPA commendation. So, Brenda, you can't be with us today. Hopefully, you're watching this video at some point this evening. Your ability to innovate under pressure is truly commendable. Congratulations, Brenda. So let's give Brenda a big round of applause. Awesome. All right. We still have 4 to go. All right. The next award, the Champion of Community Trust, celebrates those who build authentic, lasting relationships with their communities. This award recognizes practitioners who prioritize equitable engagement and consistently strengthens connections, fostering public trust over time. This year's award winner is actually a trio of Melanie Morales, Melissa Escamilla, and Kala Barrett from the city of San Antonio. So just to the south of Sergio. Um, so Kala can't be with us today, but I know that we have Melanie and Melissa with us. Um, this powerhouse team has engaged over 145,000 residents through a multi-model approach, hosting more than 2,600 public meetings and initiatives designed to reach people of all ages and backgrounds. And by making participation accessible, transparent, and impactful, they have deepened trust between the city and its residents, ensuring every voice has the opportunity to be heard. So, Melanie, Melissa, and to you, Kala, as you prep for your nuptials, thank you for your dedication to building a more connected and inclusive San Antonio, and congratulations. All right. The next award is the Leader of Innovation Award. This award honors those who collaborate to push the boundaries of engagement. This award recognizes individuals and organizations that help shape the future of public participation through feedback, beta testing, and sharing best practices. By turning shared insights into real GovTech solutions, these innovation leaders accelerate success for public engagement and professionals everywhere. This year's winners are Jamal Robbins and Diane Wilson from North Carolina Department of Transportation. Um, so congratulations. Jamal and Diane have transformed engagement at NCDOT by consolidating resident input from multiple MPOs into a single accessible platform. Their innovative approach has streamlined engagements, improved transparency, and set a new benchmark for how transportation agencies connect with the public. As a little bit of congratulations and well wishes to Diane, who is sliding gracefully into retirement. Although I think her colleagues are holding her back as long as they possibly can. But job well done. Your forward thinking is driving real change, and we're just honored to have worked with you through this process. All right. Rounding out the last 2 awards, the Champion of Inclusion Engagement Award honors those who go above and beyond to reach diverse and underrepresented communities, ensuring that every voice has a place in public decision making. This award recognizes leaders who create equitable pathways for participation, breaking down barriers so that the engagement is truly accessible to all. This year's award winner is Jackie Nolasco from North Central Texas Council of Government, NCT COG. So congratulations, Jackie. You and your team are committed to making public participation accessible to everyone, including those without internet access. By leveraging public input's phone line feature and prioritizing inclusive outreach strategies, you have ensured that engagement is not just available, but truly equitable. Thank you, Jackie, for your dedication and your inspiration and equitable engagement. So another round of applause for Jackie. Much appreciated. Okay. Finally, our final award is the Resource Innovator Award. This award celebrates those who achieve remarkable engagement impact with limited resources. Ooh, this was a hard one. Lots of nominees for this. This award recognizes leaders who maximize their manpower and budget, proving that creativity and strategic thinking can drive meaningful public participation even with modest means. The winner this year is Bonnie Parker from Capital Area Metropolitan Planning Organization. Bonnie, you have redefined engagement at Campo by prioritizing youth involvement through focus groups and cost-effective outreach strategies. By leveraging public input to streamline feedback collection, you have ensured that young voices are active in shaping long-term planning. Bonnie, your ingenuity and dedication to this inclusive engagement are truly inspiring. Congratulations. We're going to applause for Bonnie. Yay. Well, that was fun. Before we wrap up, we want to extend a huge congratulations to all of our award winners. Your hard work and dedication to community engagements are setting a new standards for public participation. We are, again, just honored to be your partner in this process, and your ideas, your creativity, and your constant striving to be better at it also pushes us as an organization, and we appreciate that. So it is definitely, we see this as a two-way street. We encourage everyone to check out the full stories behind the award winners. There's a little case study here. You can scan the QR code that Tricia has put up. These insights and successes can inspire all of us to continue to innovate and making our public engagement more meaningful. So with that, I will turn it back to you, Tricia.
Thanks. I put the link in the chat too. If you're just not into QR codes, you can use a good old-fashioned link there. Just really quick before we say goodbye today, just a reminder, we'll be sending out a recording of today's session for you to review and share with your colleagues if you'd like. And for those of you who are traveling to our upcoming conference, please don't forget to come say hi. I'm actually going to be in Denver at the end of the week. We're going to have some super secret special gifts for our customers. So if you're a customer, come say hi. And then we have some fun giveaways for our new friends who are going to come visit us too. So again, all of this information has been amazing. Here's Allison's contact again. And special thanks to you, Allison, for what you do. Thank you for Nina for shining a light on the good work of our customers. And thanks to all of you for joining us today. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.